Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this important community conversation about the powering of mentoring and human connection in Lincoln. You know, CHE, Community Health Endowment, has a long history of providing education to the community, bringing people together, talking about emerging issues. But I want to tell you that some may think this is an opportunity to inform the community, but it is also an opportunity to inform us here at CHE. We consider every day an opportunity to learn more about Lincoln, and today is certainly going to be one of those days. We also have long recognized the power of mentoring. Research has shown, data has shown how valuable mentoring is. In fact, it is one of our current funding priorities. And a few years ago, we partnered with some organizations led by teammates to help create the Lincoln Mentoring Coalition. And you're going to hear more about them today, and the work they've done and the things they're asking the community to do. So we're excited to hear from them, and we're also excited to hear from two organizations that CHE currently funds around mentoring, both Visionary Youth and the Society of Care. Really exciting projects that I know you're going to enjoy hearing about. You know, I've had the privilege of working in Lincoln for a long time, and I am not sure we are at a more critical space than we've ever been when it comes to children and youth. This is an absolute critical time for us, and I cannot stress enough to you, and many of you know this, but some of you may not, the need to come alongside children and youth in Lincoln today. This is not just about the school system. This is not just about our medical providers or about government or about our nonprofit agencies. This is about all of us. This is about our community in general, our neighbors, our friends, our aunts and uncles, our coaches, whoever you might be. You interact with children and youth on a regular basis, and we need to come along these children and youth to create brighter futures. So we need you. Lincoln needs you. These children and youth need you. So let's not wait any further to create a brighter future for them. So I am so excited today to welcome this panel. You're going to have a great hour and a half of interesting information. And I'm going to turn it over now to Steve Solario, who is going to be our moderator. Steve?
Hello, everybody. Thank you again for having us. For everybody who's watching us, we have an awesome panel that we have here. We have Jim, Jakira, KV, and Angel, and we have a fun hour and a half of discussion, and we're super excited here to be here. And kind of want to introduce myself, that way you guys know who I am, and then we're going to have the panel introduce themselves and kind of let us know a little bit about their connection with mentorship and why they feel mentorship is important. So first, I'm going to start off. My name is Steve Solorio, and I work for El Centro de las Americas. I'm the youth program manager El Centro de las Americas. I have been with El Centro for the past 8 years. We actually started the program with only 8 students at El Centro de las Americas, and currently we have every semester over 450 students that register on pretty much on a yearly basis. So this is something that is a huge passion for me. I actually was born in Los Angeles, California, and we moved to Nebraska when I was like in middle school. I think it was 8th grade, it was around middle school. So one thing I do remember growing up is I never had a mentor. It was something to this day. I still think like my mentors growing up were the people that my brother used to hang out with, people that, people that I shouldn't have been looking up to. So I never had somebody who would come to my school, or somebody that I would look up to, a mentor that, told me what to do or what college I should go to. So to me, this is a big passion. Me being able to work with youth in the community and be there for all these young men, young ladies, to be there with them. So that's just a little bit about myself. I'm gonna pass it on to our panel to kind of just introduce themselves and kind of just tell us a little bit about, your connection to mentorship and, why do you think mentorship is important? So we'll go ahead and start off with Jim. Yeah.
I'm Jim Bennett. I'm the coordinator for Teammates of Lincoln. I'm here also representing the Lincoln Youth Mentoring Coalition. That's and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but Teammates serves 1,200 matches in our community this year, hoping to increase that next year. But that's 1,200 young people and 1,200 caring adults that match and meet weekly in our schools. For me, mentoring, so I've been a youth worker since '93. So for 30 years, I've been doing youth work. And everywhere I go, I've worked in psychiatric hospitals and in the juvenile detention center, and I worked for the Administrative Office of Probation. So a lot of it was in juvenile justice, but everywhere I've gone with youth mental health, with the ACEs study, with juvenile justice, the research all says the same stuff, which is mentoring can support young people in ways that other things can't. Through some therapy works as well, but in juvenile justice, mentoring is about one of the single best things you can do for young people. So when the opportunity arose for me to be able to join teammates and be a part of mentoring in our community, I jumped at the chance. So.
Thank you. My name is Jakira Hopper. I'm a former mentee and current mentor, and I'm also a community leader here in Lincoln. I would say I don't want to cry, but I'm currently a board of director of Lincoln Teammates. So I want to say that's where I first started my mentorship, and I came through as a mentee. But my mentor impacted my life a lot. And so this is kind of me passing the baton on, to these mentors that I'm serving. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice, so I work with a lot of youth in the criminal, justice system. And, I've been a part of CEDARS. I'm currently a juvenile probation officer. And I have a passion for helping people. So it fills my cup up when I'm able to pour back into my community and make a difference, because I came from a background where I didn't have a positive role model to look up to. And so when my mentor came into my life my junior year in high school, it changed dramatically. She was the one who helped me register for college, think about my future goals, and help reach my full potential. And she brought that out in me. So I just want to continue passing on and help a youth that I once was.
My name is KB Minson. I'm the executive director and founder of Visionary Youth. And why mentoring means so much to me is I'm originally from St. Louis, and when I came up here about 10 years, when I was 10 years old, it really touched me because I didn't have like the friends, and I was new to the city. So just going to rec centers, I went to F Street, I met a gentleman, and just him touching me, showing me the ropes on what do you do, as a 10-year-old black male, and you're trying to make it and you want to get friends, and you realize that it's not easy to make friends and you're in a new environment. But just playing basketball, being there to talk to someone, and he showed me how to dunk, showed me how to, how do you handle yourself and in today's society and stuff like that. So being around there and getting that support from guys like himself and other mentors from Air Park, it just inspired me to want to give back more, and seeing the work that my dad used to do as well. He used to take care of a lot of kids, and I used to ask him, why you taking care of so many kids? You got 10 of them right now. So just to see that, and he was like, there are a lot of kids out there that need assistance, and if he can guide someone into bettering their life and through school, or just figuring out how to maneuver. And I was just like, that is something that is really near and dear to my heart. I seen my dad do. He was my role model as well. So just to have that, and that poise and the structure that he would give, it just really made me want to give back and just pour into the community.
Aeonia, ibevdite uibla tomek, moha ijaje wiwitate Julie. Wache Jaje Wiwitate Angel Geller, in case of Bewa Ubli, Miskide Twongdong. My name is Angel Geller, and I just introduced myself in Umaha, which this land recognizes as these are ancestral lands. And just good morning. I am the lead family coordinator for Society of Care, which is based out of the Santee Sioux Nation. And I received a BFA from Nebraska Wesleyan, and I currently co-lead the Trauma Warriors Native American Youth Council here in Lincoln. And mentoring, you know, as someone who was both in the foster care system and later on adopted, and then saw both younger and older siblings of my family, because I have 3 brothers, 1 younger, 2 older, and they were in and out of juvenile detention and incarcerated, and just really seeing how easy it was to just throw Native people away. And that's something where just having like a very gentle like watching of like how that really disrupts family and disrupts personal healing and identity. That's something where while I was going through my own struggles that I've always had just kind of this internal drive to help other young people and help them be seen and heard and walk alongside them. So I'm really proud to work with young people, and I think that really it feels most comfortable because that's our ways. Native cultures, it's not super individualistic, like you have aunties, uncles, a clan, a tribe that is supposed to walk around and walk with young people at all times. So it feels very natural having mentorship.
So you guys seen, we have an awesome panel. It's gonna be full of a lot of information, and I'm super excited. But first, before we get on to the next few questions, we have Jim going on to give us an overview of the State of the Mentoring Report that was published on May 2021. He's gonna tell us about the report and who was involved. I'll pass it on to Jim.
So like I said, I'm here, I'm the teammates coordinator, but I'm here representing the Lincoln Youth Mentoring Coalition. So I started in teammates in 2018 and had coffee with the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters. And Kirsten Hill at the time, and Kirsten and I knew each other outside of work, and so it was a natural fit for us to have a conversation around mentoring. And she talked about this concept of working with the Community Health Endowment on and seeing mentoring a little bit differently. Not only is it for youth mental health, but also the benefits of physical health in mentoring. And we talked a little bit about the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experiences studies, and what that says about mentoring and how mentoring can support young people. And so I was on board, and I thought I wanted to be a part of the process. You know, and in the nonprofit world, Kirsten moved on to a different position, and so this idea was out there, and Lori from CHE approached teammates and said, "Can you pick the ball up and go with this and help us make this happen in our community?" And of course, we did. We partnered with 4 other organizations: Big Brothers Big Sisters, City Impact, LPS Federal Programs, and CASA. And with us 5 programs, we developed a plan to implement a coalition here in Lincoln. And so we hired a consultant, Clover Frederick. We got her on board with the support of CHE, and Clover helped guide the coalition for a year. And so what we did for that first year was really gather data and do a lot of surveys and figure out what does mentoring look like and how do we get mentoring organizations to be a part of the coalition. So we cast a really broad net in our community. And that broad net was any organization that either is thinking about mentoring, doing mentoring, or supports mentoring. And so when it was all said and done, we had 26 organizations as a part of the coalition. And the second year, we really focused on, or towards the end of the first year and the second year, we focused on creating a State of Mentoring report. So in May of 2021, like you said, we put out the State of Mentoring report. And it really helped us to figure out what does mentoring look like in Lincoln. And our goal of this report is to make Lincoln a community of mentoring. Any young person who wants a mentor should hopefully have one. And so we worked underneath that premise, and this is what we found out. Here are the organizations involved on your screen. You'll see that. This is the 26. Currently, our membership is at 31 organizations, so it keeps growing. People are very interested in the coalition. But these are the folks that help make all this happen, along with that core group of 5 to begin with. we found this out, that 2,370 young people are being mentored in our community in formal mentoring programs. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about, these are mentoring programs where you are a participant in a program, and there's a process involved where there's background checks and training and things like that involved with it. That doesn't mean that there's only 2,370 youth being mentored in our community. We know that, within communities within our community, that there's lots of mentoring going on. Of those, 76% of mentored youth are living in poverty. Now, everyone uses a slightly different version of poverty, but really you can think about free and reduced lunch in schools as being kind of a good parameter that is used often to talk about that. So 3/4 of our young people are being mentored are living in poverty. The other stat that was a little bit jarring was that we had 926 young people on a wait list. These are 926 young people who say they want to be mentored, are interested in being mentored, and we're trying in our organizations to find people in our community who are willing to do that. I think it's important to say with that 926 that it is not the same 926. This is 2021. There's probably a dramatically different 926 on that list today. It's a rotating list. We find mentors, we get them going and get them matched and meeting, and then another young person comes on the list. So that list, I'm confident to say that we're probably really close to that number today. So that's not, like I said, it's a rotating list. Here are two key things that we found out, and they do match national trends, which is we need more BIPOC mentors, more people, more mentors of color. We know that 51% of our young people that are being served in formal mentoring programs are BIPOC youth, right? Black, Indigenous, or people of color. And only 12% of our mentor pool is BIPOC. So those mentors are doing a fantastic job. And it's not that a mentor has to match race and ethnicity of a young person, because the research says very clearly that people benefit from any caring adult in their life. But what the research also says that if that young person can see themselves in their mentor, that the outcomes are much, much better. So it's something that we're striving for in our community, that we really need more mentors of color to help serve the young people that we know are being served in our mentoring programs. And then the other thing is that we have a shortage of male mentors. This is a national trend. I wish it weren't this way. 41% of our youth, we're about 60-40. 60% of our mentoring programs are serving young women in our community, whereas only about 40, in this case it was 41% in 2021, of males are being served. And a lot of those are not being mentored by men. Only 36% of our mentoring pool is men. So we see a pretty distinct shortage of male mentors in our community. So one thing we did year 2 was we decided we've got to have a way for people to know what's happening in our community. What are the mentoring organizations in our community? What do they do? Who do they serve? How do I get involved? And so year 2, with Glover Frederick's leadership, we developed the Lincoln Youth Mentoring Coalition. You'll see our logo that was designed by a youth in one of our programs. So the main thing with Mentor LNK that we're doing is it's also a tool not just for mentors, but for families who want their young people to be involved in mentoring programs. What are the programs out there? How do we get involved? What's the contact information? So what we did is we developed Mentor LNK. And at Mentor LNK, you can search Mentor LNK, you can search that, and it'll should be the first thing on your search. This is what you can do. If you click on up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see Find Your Mentoring Organization Today. Or you can click right below the logo and see Find Your Mentoring Organization, and this will pop up. And so what this does is it allows you to put in parameters of what kind of mentoring you would like to do. And so you can put in the age of the student you want to serve, the gender, the meeting times, you want it school-based, after school, identification. Is there a specific population that you would like to to be a part of mentoring. What type of mentoring you want to do, and then the frequency of mentoring. Most of our mentoring organizations are one time a week. That's the majority of them, but not all of them are. You can choose school-based, faith-based, community-based. There's lots of different organizations out there. Like I said, there's 31 organizations that are a part of the coalition. Like I said, and some of those are advocacy organizations that really support mentoring but don't do it. But in here, I think there's 16 organizations that do mentoring. The next thing you can do, you can kind of see the top of this, but if you go down, you can see a description of each of the mentoring programs. This is critical to be able to decide, where do I want to mentor? What kind of mentoring do I want to do? And this will help give you that information. And then there'll be a direct link to that website. We don't have a sign up here. We have a locator. And then if you find a mentoring organization that you want to be a part of, you click on that link, and then that will take you to the website. And you can either get more information or you can sign up to be a mentor. And I got to say that we need more mentors. That's the one thing that the Mentoring Coalition identified. 926 young people waiting. 926 young people that say, I would really love to have a caring adult in my life outside of what I already have. And we would love to see Lincoln really step up to the challenge and become truly have Lincoln become a community of mentoring. And the best place to start would be to go to Mentor LNK and take a look and get more information.
Would that be the best way for any organization watching, if they want to be part of Mentor Lincoln, to go onto the website?
Right, you can go on there and you can do a contact, and you can, the email will come to me. Okay. So right now, Teammates is the, we're kind of coordinating the coalition. We're going to hand that off to another organization next year, but we will, we're going to coordinate the Mentor LNK website. If you go on there, you could either say, I'm interested in being a mentor, and the email will come to me, and I'll be in touch with you real soon.
Awesome. Thank you. A lot of awesome information, and we just want to remind our audience, if you guys have any questions, to just go ahead and use the feature on Zoom to ask any questions on Zoom. If you have any questions for Jim's presentation, we can go ahead and answer some of those questions at the end of this conversation. So we're going to go ahead and start off with some of our questions, and those slides were awesome, a lot of information. Again, any questions, just make sure you guys put them on the feature on Zoom. So we're going to go ahead and start off with our first questions. So although we all serve youth here in Lincoln, we mentor youth differently. Could you all share what is your approach, and how does this approach benefit the youth here in Lincoln, or if you guys mentor other youth outside of Lincoln? So how about we go ahead and start off with Angel with that question. Yeah.
So I mentor through my work, and I, at one point I was a teammate, and I was going in during the school, and I noticed that my teammate that I was meeting with, she had a really hard time coming to school, but she would absolutely be there on the days that she knew that I was coming. And that was something that really was impactful, and I knew that she looked forward to that, even though she wouldn't say so necessarily. But right now I'm mentoring within the schools through Indian Ed, which is federal programs LPS. And so I'm still having one-on-one time through the schools, and I'm finding the same thing of, the individuals that I'm mentoring, like, especially if they're having a hard time coming to school or staying in school all day, they'll definitely be there if they know that I'm going to come there and be present with them and give them my full attention. The unique thing about Trauma Warriors is that we have male mentors, and then myself, and we bring in community leaders and elders and rotate through and introduce them to different people in their own community, but it's a group of youth. And the youth develop relationships with one another over a span of years, and we meet weekly. We celebrate together, we show up for each other. So if it's, we just had some youth graduate, and, we went to their ceremony to see them get their eagle feathers. And next week we'll be going to, in Omaha, there's the coming of age ceremony for some of our young girls. And some of our young girls don't have aunties or mothers who are currently present in their life. And so actually some of our older youth who are like 19 are stepping in to be their partner for these ceremonies. And so really, I think with what I've seen in our community is that, we're lacking on those mentors who maybe either have time or feel confident in mentoring. And so really engaging with our youth, middle school through high school, and even afterwards. I love that Society of Care considers youth up until 24. Investing them to feel confident and comfortable to coming to things like this to continue to build that up, that they belong in our community and they're welcome in our community and they're important in our community. So keeping them long term.
So when it comes to like mentoring like different youth from different tribes, can you kind of mention a little bit on that? How is there a difference or?
I like a way that is pretty simple is like if you say that someone is European, it's just like super broad, but someone who's from France and someone who's from Italy, they speak different languages, they have different food, they have different histories, their culture is very colorful and vast. We have 560 some federally recognized tribes in the United States, and 4 of those tribes are federally recognized here in Nebraska. We have youth that are from tribes outside of Nebraska, but each one is culturally going to be different. They have their own history, their own foods, their own languages, their own traditions. And the commonality is that, of course, we're indigenous to these lands and we have a common history of colonization and the after effects of that. But each tribe is super different. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to just group all natives together because it just doesn't make a lot of sense when you have folks who are from one tribe and then one where they literally have nothing else in common aside from being from, Northern America.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that. It's the same thing with our culture with this Latinos, and mm-hmm. We had situations where a lot of people kind of assume that all Latinos are Mexican kids, and I think that's the first thing people assume, like, hey, he must be Mexican. We've had a situation where people want to donate food, and right away they're like, oh, do all your Mexican kids like tacos? I'm like, no, we also have students from Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala. Every culture is a little bit different. So I think one of the first steps that we have that we try to identify some of these students, the different cultures, where they're from, their differences. Not everybody who's a Latino likes soccer, so we have to kind of figure out exactly what they like. Some actually like other sports, they like other activities, some are in bands. So I think it's really important. It's changing now. It's really changing now when we have a lot of students that, they're immigrating from, these Central American countries, from Mexico. The culture coming from students are coming from California, from Chicago, Texas. Everybody's a little bit different. So that's really important how, we kind of have to be really careful when we mentor certain youth. So same question to you, Jim.
Also, on behalf of the teammates, like I said, we serve about 1,200 youth in the schools. It's all public and parochial schools. We do a developmental model of mentoring, and so there's prescriptive models that either there's a type of mentoring they want you to do, or maybe there's a curriculum that you go through. So a lot of times they may be academic. That's more of a practical model of mentoring. We do a developmental model of mentoring. And what we really ask adults to do is to go and meet with this young person and create a relationship. And that's, in youth work, we hear a lot about relationship building and how important that is. And mentoring is no different. If you can create a relationship, good things happen. And, we see outcomes, 98% of the teammates in Lincoln say they trust their mentor. So there's a building of trust. There's an increased sense of hope. But then there's some real basic things like attendance in school is better, grades are better, graduation rates are higher. So some real kind of milestone things that happen for young people by building a relationship with an adult. And then the other thing that I think we would all say is, I'm a mentor to two young people, both juniors, two young people, and they've changed my life. I'm a better parent. I'm a better employee. I'm a better community member because of them and what I'm getting out of it. So it's not just the benefit to young people in our community, it's the benefit to our community as a whole. And so, and Teammates does it through developmental models. There are lots, like I said, I think there's 16 different mentoring organizations that are at least a part of the coalition. There might be more. There probably is more that we just haven't caught up to yet. But they all do different models, and there's a model for everybody in Lincoln. If it's not Teammates, it could be Big Brothers Big Sisters. It could be any of these models as well. There's some place that you can make a difference in that a community member can make a difference in a young person's life.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Take care.
I would say working with the youth that I've worked with in the past and in the present, they tend to look at challenge adults, and they tend to not trust adults right away. So going into working with these type of youth, I make sure to remove the label off of the kid when it comes to these kids, because they're so used to, the kids that I work with, they're so used to having these labels put on them from society. So when an adult figure as like a mentor come into their life, they don't know nothing about them. They're not reading them from a piece of paper. They don't know anything about them. So having another adult figure come into their life, they're able to benefit in a lot of ways. They're able to provide, be themselves around this adult, because the adult is not judging them based off the label that they've already been labeled from society. And they're also able to bring more hope into these youth, inspire them to have a brighter future. And just these youths are able to trust this adult, because they're not there to just judge them or off there. They're just there to be their friend, listen, and support them.
When you're talking about labels, is there like an example that you have, like for a story of a label of somebody?
I wouldn't say, working in education as well, we just always label them as trouble kids or bad kids.
Okay.
And I don't like that, label. I don't like to put, they're a bad kid. They're not a bad kid. They're just a youth that, are struggling on how to, cope or have the skills they need to, express their emotions and their, when it comes to dealing with certain challenges in their life.
Next, we have KV, and he has a different approach, and he's gonna give us a few slides on how he approaches mentoring youth.
Perfect. So yes, like I said, approaching mentoring is a lot of it's different. It's real unique, and I knew I wanted to do it, so I started it out of a barbershop. Not even knowing. If anybody knows the barbershop, it's where you go get your hair cut, have a normal conversation, get to talking about the day-to-day, to get away from all the troubles. And I was doing this for 26 years, and I got a best friend named Florence Tatters, and he was going to school for his doctorate, and he's a doctorate psychologist. So me and him were just talking one day, and I was like, man, I really want to start a mentoring program. And he was like, that'd be awesome. And I'm like, man, with it. So he was like, we should go figure it out. I see what the issue is, that I can't get minorities in the counseling and to go to his counseling. He was setting up free counseling for minorities to come, man. He was just stopped into the barbershop and seeing all these minorities here, and we're having, like I said, we're having great conversations, we're talking about sports, school, life goals and things like that. And he was like, how do we integrate that together? And I was like, I seen on television one day, I was just scrolling through, and this is when food trucks and everything were mobile. And I'm like, man, this would be a perfect idea as a barbershop to be mobile. So that's when the MIND program was developed right there. And MIND is Mentoring a New Dimension, and it's trained mentors who are also barbers. So it's a 10-week program, and how it came about, we had to get a mobile bus, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. You know, you just think about getting a bus, you're like, oh, it's going to be easy, we're going to set it up. No, we had to, we got a 36-foot long bus. We had to strip it down and customize it into a full barbershop. And with rules and regulations of being a barbershop, and you think about, you got to put a bathroom on there. It's got 4 chairs, seating. It's got to have space and everything like that. I mean, it's got everything that a state-of-the-art barbershop would have. I mean, you see the barber pole. It's got a refrigerator, nice sound system, microwave, shampoo bowl for you can wash their hair. I mean, we take care of these kids. Got a hot towel warmer, so it's a lot of things. So just to see it right there in that mentoring, I mean, so Dr. Chatters came up with this concept to have a licensed mental therapist in there, and we was like, let's put it together. Let's put the informal with the formal, and let's formalize this into a mentoring and make it go mobile. So we're able to go to different organizations and just not stay in one place. We wanted to really go around the community and go to different organizations that needed this assistance. So it's a 10-week program, and it's, like I said, the barbers meet with the youth for about 45 minutes, not only giving them a haircut, making them look good and feel good, but also talking to them about life lessons and goals and aspirations. And then they spend the next 45 minutes with the licensed therapist in group therapy. So they're getting both of how to explain themselves and their emotions, work through issues that they might have at home or just with friends, and they get to do this in a peer group work. So like I said, it's a 10-week program. We see the kids every week. The first week we'll give them a haircut, and that might last 45 minutes with the conversations that we have, and then the next week we'll give them a lineup, and the time that we have left, we might go out there and play basketball, Foursquare, or might just run. We did a couple track races and stuff like that. So there go a picture of us. I mean, we like to have fun. I mean, it's taking them to a place where they can get away, get a haircut, feel confident, and really talk about just life goals. So they're in there cutting. I mean, man, it's a beautiful spot how it's laid out.
Are you guys driving around while you guys
we don't
doing
drive.
this?
We don't drive around while we cut. I think that'd be a little dangerous right there. But I mean, it's like I said, it's meaningful conversations and watching them. I mean, we just had a graduation class, and it was a 10-week, like I said, 10-week program. But just to see how they would walk towards the bus at first and be shy, timid, and really wouldn't talk, but as barbers and, like I said, mentors together, we learned that how to easily make them easy, feel comfortable, and talk to them. And man, let me tell you, about the 3rd and 4th week, couldn't get them to stop talking. It was amazing. It felt so good just to see these kids and just hear their dreams, aspirations, and their goals and what they want to do in life, and just talk to them about their friends and their peers. So. Just overwhelming. It brings you to tears because you look at yourself and you're like, I was one of them kids. Mm-hmm. And to have that come mobile, and because some people can't, you got to meet some people where they are, mm-hmm. and that's what we do. Some people can't get out to with transportation or things like that, with families, and they got to stay home, or the parent may not be able to give them transportation. So that was a big thing, especially when COVID hit. We wanted to really pivot to do that. So, yeah, I mean, you see it. I mean, it speaks for itself. Having fun and really, I mean, even after school, like we have talks like, give us something what you remember of your day, and just see how they remember their day. And at first they was like, I don't remember nothing, it's just school. I'm like, oh no, you remember something. You're gonna tell us a little something about it. And then after that, you start to see them like, yeah, I remember this. They wanted to remember more and more. And we asked them, how much are you putting in? You putting in 80%, 90%, 100%? You got kids, well, I'm putting in like 24%. I'm like, oh, you broke it down to 24. Okay, so we know you can go a little higher, right? You know, so now they're like, hey, I put in 70%, and then it leads to the sports and stuff like that. What are you doing in basketball? What are you putting? Oh, I put 100 in there. So you don't think you should put 100 in while you're in school to learn this, and then you can learn the plays better and stuff like that? Like, you know, I never thought about it like that. Then just those conversations lead to running back and, yeah, man, I put 100 in today. I'm like, oh, okay, so tell me what you do. And they remember it well. I mean, like I said, these young guys have came a long way, and we just don't stop after the 10 weeks. So after the 10 weeks, we'll meet with them a month afterwards, every month after that, until they get like I said, older, out of school. Unless they want to keep on coming back, they're more than welcome to keep on coming back. But this is a lifetime right here, just to be able to give back, haircuts with the mentorship, what we train through, and then you have that therapy component. Oh, it's absolutely amazing just to see it. So that's just a little bit about our program and what we do at Visionary Youth. It's a new, innovative way of trying to really touch the community. We're working to do cosmetologists to work with young women. So that's down the pipeline to be coming, where we can have women come in and maybe do braids and trim up the hair and do a little something for the young ladies that need this mentorship. So
awesome. I've known KB for many years, many years. And one thing I do remember, a memory, is I would always go around that time when the students would come out of school. And I remember those questions when you guys would start asking students questions.
Right.
And you guys would always ask them about, like, how was your day? You know, like, what'd you learn today in school?
Right.
You know, what'd you guys do? You know, like, you know, tell me 3 things that you guys, your brother would always ask one of the students, would be like, tell me 3 things you learned about math today. You know, and
yes.
And it was an awesome experience because you guys had that interaction. And to them, they would always look forward to getting that haircut and getting to know more about you guys. You guys were sometimes, I think one time I went, you guys were talking to them about business and, you know, how the business grew and everything. And those are things that the students will remember. And I have students that go with you guys, and to this day, they're like, oh yeah, KB told me about this, and if I could do this, he would give me a discount on my haircut or something like that.
Yes.
So it's little things like that, you know, that do change, and the things that we do really do impact the students that we have. So thank you, KB. And again, it's just a quick reminder, if you guys have any questions for any of our panel or for KB, you guys can use the feature on Zoom and ask those questions, and we might get to some of those at the end of this conversation. So we'll go to our second question, and what are some of the benefits that mentees and mentors get from the mentorship experience? We're going to go with you, Jim, on this one first, and then we'll go down. And
I spoke to some of those in the previous question, but one thing I do want to go back to that what a mentor gets out of it. I say a lot about research because there is a science to mentoring. There's an organization you can go to, the National Mentoring Partnership, or Mentor is what they go by, and then we have a Nebraska affiliate called Mentor Nebraska, and in there's elements of effective practice, and there's ways to do this right. The Mentoring Coalition has been striving not just to get more mentors and to retain more mentors, but to also increase the quality of mentoring programs, and there's a roadmap to doing that. In that roadmap, it's one thing that's very clear is that when organizations or businesses in town, when they let their people go mentor during the day or the evening, whenever they're working, what the research says is that mentors are better employees, more connected to their communities, more productive while at work. So there's a lot of organizations around town that really see the benefit in letting their people go out and volunteer in the community, and that's an important thing. And like I said, I'm profoundly affected by my mentorship. So that's on the mentor side. On the mentee side, it's all the things that you would expect to see from a young person. It's doing better in school, fewer decreasing the effects of any adverse childhood experiences that they may have had, things that have pretty traumatic events in their lives. It can decrease the symptomology of those negative things that happen to young people, and then the ill effects that come as of that. So I mean, young people, and like I said, we see it in teammates. We see, you know, they're better students. They're more engaged in their school. And we see the same thing, kind of what you talked about. KB talked about it, and you mentioned it. That one time we said, I asked a young person, what do they want to be when they're older? And she told me, she goes, I want to be an insurance adjuster. And I was like, well, that's really specific. and after talking to her, found out, of course, her mentor is an insurance adjuster, and never would have. I would never have thought to be an insurance adjuster growing up, but you don't realize the effects that has on young people. If I buy a new pair of shoes or buy a different shirt, one or both of my mentees notice it and comment on it. They're watching every move you make, and that relationship building is where that happens, right? And then, so you don't always get to see the effect of mentorship. A lot of times those effects are down the road. Do they go to college? Do they decide to be a parent? You know, all these decisions, how they decide to be a parent, what kind of parent are they going to be? So we don't get to always see those, but trust me when I say they're happening.
Yeah, sometimes we don't see the benefit right away.
Right.
And this kind of brought me back to a graduation invitation I got yesterday from one of my students that I had from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And back in the day, I always thought that student never listened when we would do workshops, when we talked to them. But came back 4 or 5 years later with an invitation, pretty much, this was yesterday, saying, thank you for everything you did for me in middle school. I was really listening, and I'm sorry for not being a little brat in class, but he was thanking me for everything. But sometimes we don't see it right at the moment, but in reality, they are listening, and it's something that might be something later on, or maybe something small that you tell them that day that might trigger for them in the future. So.
Well, I would say both, being on both sides, being a mentor and a mentee is both very impactful. It just kind of made me remember, going off of what Jim said, is when I had a mentor as a mentee in high school, my mentor asked me the same question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I mean, I thought about it, but at that time, you know, since I didn't have those positive role models around me, I didn't have the resources to really, you know, like if I did want to be, my answer was be a police officer. And at that time, you know, I didn't have the resources to, you know, figure out how to go about accomplishing that goal. And so, you know, my mentor took the time to, you know, help me apply for scholarship, look into what I wanted to do, you know, and that's the reason why, you know, I went to Peru State College. I got my degree in criminal justice administration, you know, and I, you know, was working in corrections. And overall, my goal was to, you know, become a police officer. But of course, life happens and my path changed. But as a mentee, I would say, my mentor poured into me, and she helped me realize that my past doesn't define me. Because like I mentioned earlier, you know, I came from a family, you know, violence, drugs, you know, both parents incarcerated all my life, majority of my life. And so she helped me realize that it doesn't matter. I can't control what goes on around me. I can only control how I respond to it. And so she poured that hope into me, you know, and helped me. And I mean, she is the reason I am the woman I am today, because she was a mother figure, not even just a mentor. You know, she was my friend. She listened to me. She helped me. She was the one, you know, coming to my basketball game. She was the one, you know, supporting me and cheering me on in any part of my life. And so being a mentor, I'm able to pour back into the mentees that I once was, and I'm able to, like I said earlier, continue that race that my mentor, you know, started for me. And like I said, I have a passion for helping people. So as I'm pouring back into these youth, they're filling my cup up. And I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup. So it just allows me to, it just impacts me in both ways, you know, as a mentee and a mentor. And I'm just able to help these youth realize, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not always dark. And If I did it, you can do it. And I just want to help my, like my mentor did to me, help my mentee reach their full potential, because, holding their hand basically along the journey, giving them the skills and toolboxes they need, because I won't be there forever. And once I'm able to, let go, they have what they need and prepared what they need, are prepared for their future once I'm able to let go.
Me being a mentor, just to pour into my mentee, just to see how I was when I was young. I was a knucklehead, and just to get that guidance to pull me out and get me in the right direction and things of that nature. So I think for me being a mentor, giving back, and also just realizing like how much it means to me, and it's that, like she said, it's that powerful effect that you give in being in yourself. You get to see yourself again. So it's like, man, everything that I could have messed up, I can really, try to pour into this young mentee and give them the guidance where they can see themselves in a different light, So, and as a mentee, you look at it as, you sit back and you look at it, it's like, what do they get from it? They get the courage, they get the confidence, they get that uplifting, they get the, connections to really to be able to go out there and talk to people. I mean, I just had, for example, there was this young kid, and we was talking at the Mind Mobile, and I was like, what do you like about coming in here? He was like, I like coming and sitting down and just talking, and just you being able to just listen to me. And I'm like, that's awesome. He was like, there's a lot of things going on through, at home. And, we come from a large family. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm being heard, but when I come here, I know you're listening. Those type of things right there just inspire me more to just pour into these youth and see the development, because they want to be heard. And just think about how they can use their words more elegant, and if it's behavior issues that they're having, they can go ahead and say, this ain't me, so I could learn how to go ahead and behave well, or if it's got to do with any issues of just really knowing how to communicate their emotions, like Jim was saying, because a lot of kids nowadays, it's emotions. I think they let them get the best of them instead of really just, honing in, calming down, thinking about it, and then speaking to them, speaking to the parent or a teacher and things like that. So just those, the mentees and the mentors, just one another, feeding off another. I think it's really well, and that's what I love about doing the mentor part, and that's what I love seeing about the mentees, just bringing out the best in them. So.
Yeah, I think about the kids that I work with, and they make me laugh. I'll be cracking up every single time. They guarantee just to make me laugh. When I tell people that I primarily work with teenagers, they'll say something like, "Oh, it takes the right kind of person to do that." And I think like, man, I wish that you could see what it's actually like though, because they make me laugh. I'll be like deep, like belly, just gut. It just hurts. Yeah, they're so funny, and I know that, like, sharing that experience with them, because we talk about, you have these different chemicals that release different chemicals that impact your thinking, and laughing is one of them. That's stress relief. So coming here, like, we are currently participating in our well-being by sitting here and sharing this moment together, and we'll talk about, openly about things like that. Just recently, we were doing positive affirmations, but for other people in the group. And so we draw a name out of the hat and say, today is all about this person. And we would say, and really think about it, and say something to them that we really, really sincerely feel, because it's kind of like in the Native community, that people like you if they tease you. Like, that's kind of like they feel comfortable enough. Yeah. Yep. And but then sometimes you have these very impressionable, like, emotional teens going through stuff where, like, all they hear from their peers is teasing. And maybe they're not getting enough, like, positive affirmation of, like, actually, this is how I really feel about you. and I see you. So making time for that. And we talked about how positive affirmations, even doing it for yourself, it's kind of like if you're coming up on a prairie grassy area and you're trying to think of how to get through there, you're naturally just going to go for the deer trail because it's an animal trail that already exists, and you're going to use that to just, because it already exists, you're going to go that way. And that's your brain. Your brain already has these pathways, and if it's been negative for so long, you're going to have to start making a new trail, but it's not going to happen by just doing it once. It's going to happen over time of doing it over and over again before your brain just naturally thinks that way. And so just having those moments with those kids, those are also reminders for myself. And I think ultimately for both sides, just creating this sense of belonging is really a place where they thrive. You know, I belong here, I belong with you. And in our community, like a sign of respect is, you know, calling someone, even if they're not biologically, your auntie. And it's cute because like all these kids call me auntie now. And you say auntie anywhere and I'm turning my head looking to see because that's one of my kids. And, you know, they're seeing each other as relations because they've been around each other for so long. And that's our ways anyway, you know, and it's reflected in so many of our cultures of like, you belong here and we're all related, we're interconnected, and we have to be interdependent. Otherwise, we don't grow the way we're supposed to.
So this next question is kind of piggybacking belonging and identity. So anybody is welcome to answer this question. Mentees cannot always be matched with a mentor who shares their identity or lived experience. What do you think mentors in this situation should be considerate or aware of?
And seek some help just to, you know, to be informed on if it's culture, if it's background, you know, you never know, family situations. So my thing is, I really, you can't be naive to the facts of just go out there and do some research or talk to another mentor that could help you and navigate it with you. So those things that you can't be too proud of, you just, you know, like I said, go out there and really just want to help the mentor. So a mentee, if you want to do that, you really have to go and get that information. So that's one thing that I really think is a big deal.
I'd say at Teammates, one thing that there's some onus on the organization to help mentors get there, to get to the place that KB's talking about. There's a lot of talk about that if you can't match a person who has a similar identity, that as an organization you need to help those mentors, provide opportunities for those mentors to learn in that space. Now, obviously, in the relationship building process, they learn a lot, and it takes time. And it's shared. It's shared. So the mentees learn a lot about the mentors, and the mentors learn a lot about the mentees. And time helps a lot of that because you start getting more comfortable. You start understanding more as it go. The main thing is, though, it's not a mentor's responsibility to save a young person or to fix a young person. It's a mentor's job to listen, be present. And I think that's where if a mentor gets in trouble, that's where it's at, is where you think that you're going to go in there and change something in a young person. Mentoring programs are not done to or for a young person. They're done with or by the young people. So alongside the young person should be driving that process. That's just where, as an organization, you need to promote that and make sure that you train to that. So there is some onus on the mentoring organization to help mentors get to where they need to be.
And I was gonna say, going off of piggybacking off on that, I mean, to me, I feel like the answers in the question itself is just be aware. Not everyone's gonna, have the same beliefs, come from the same places you, look like you, So just being aware of that, and kind of like KB said, just researching, continue to educating yourself about the society because it's changing, especially when it comes to these youths. They're constantly changing. So making sure you're staying on top of that, it will be very beneficial when it comes to this. And like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. And so no matter whether you guys have the same beliefs or not, just having a positive role model in that child's life or the youth's life is going to make a huge impact no matter what. I mean, it's just just fact. And so just keeping that in mind, that it's okay that, you guys have different beliefs. And sometimes you don't even have to, have an opinion on that. Just be there, like Jim said, just being there, being present, showing up for them, listening to them, just having that extra adult in their life is going to change their life regardless.
I think it's really important how you said, be aware, do your research sometimes, me growing up, I was raised in Los Angeles, California, and my mentor was always my dad, but he worked a lot. So now that I'm working with youth, and we're always trying to look for male figures for our boys, and how we saw in the presentations, we lack male figures as mentors. And once I told, I was looking for mentors, looking for young men to mentor our middle school students, and they were like, don't they have their dads? Don't they have their fathers? In our culture, the dads and fathers work a lot. They work a lot. They sometimes work from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. By the time they get home, there's really no time for the parents, or some of our students don't have their dad around. So I think it's being aware of the culture, what they do. I had my father. I mean, he worked a lot. He was still my mentor. I still looked up to him, kind of like KB said, he had his dad to look up to, but he was not around all the time. So what I looked up to was, the gang members in Los Angeles. You would look at these group of people that was your mentors, or those were the people you wanted to be like, because you noticed them, they were around, they would approach you, they would try to recruit you, and those are the people you kind of look up to. So I think it's really, really important to be aware, like ask questions sometimes, and listen to, it's really important. So.
And if I can also, like I had a teammate my senior year of high school, and she was non-native, but she was an artist, and she knew that I wanted to be an artist, and I think our match was based on that. And it was really powerful, because she, I was an all-right artist in high school, but she was just like, wow, this is amazing, and was just really, really pumped me up, and would say stuff like, you should apply for this, and I'll write you a recommendation letter. And I remember reading one of her recommendation letters, and it was so very well thought out. It wasn't just something generated, or copied that is mass produced. She really thought about our relationship and wrote this recommendation letter. And it was because of that I got some scholarships. And that's something that I had never had an adult take the time to, I mean, when would that happen? Have an adult really think about your relationship and write this letter about you to send to someone else. And I have that opportunity now to do that for our kiddos. But I think that's something that I think about, where our mentorship had really nothing to do culturally, but we had a common interest. And she was persistent in showing up in my life, and really pumped me up. When I look back, I'm like, man, it really wasn't that good. But I have a BFA now, and that's something where along the way I've had several mentors who have just been professionally, this is how you hold yourself, and this is how you get, these different things that you want. And that's been really valuable too.
Awesome. Cool. It looks like we got a few questions from the audience, so we got a lot of questions coming in. But we'll try to answer as many as we can. Hopefully, you guys are ready for some of these questions. You guys are open to, anybody can answer these questions. Let's go with the first one. So, what is your daily motivation?
Oh man, I can answer that. I get up motivated. I'm ready to go. I'm telling you, I don't know. I just love life, and loving life. Good, bad, or ugly. I always seem to find the good in everything I do. I mean, I can have somebody can wreck my car, dent my car up, and I'll still be like, well, I wasn't in it, So it's something you can find out of it and really enjoy it. I mean, I love going to work, just being a barber. I mean, 26 years, it don't even feel like the work to me. So I don't even really call it work. I just call it my day-to-day routine. So I mean, wow, it's life.
And just like you said, I'm the same way. I go to work every day, and it doesn't feel like work because, like Jim said, we're learning from. We're always learning. These youth are teaching us so much. I mean, I know I've learned so much from these youth, and they just make our life just fun. Every time, we have currently like 475 students in our program, and we visit not all of them every day, but man, it is fun. I mean, we enjoy it.
Listen, I'm just gonna tell you, they with this technology now. Oh my God, I'm trying to keep up. I'm just like, what is that? And why are you taking a picture of me? Hold on, I'm shooting this to I'm like, golly, and then it's AI. So this is another whole new world, man.
I learned about that the other day. I was just like,
So yeah.
I would say for me personally, just having a relationship with God keeps me grounded and motivated. Just staying hopeful in the future. I always look at it like no matter what I'm going through, someone's always doing worse than me. I woke up today, I got food on my table, I got, a roof over my head. A lot of, especially with the youth I work with, a lot of them don't have that. So even the little things, I make, never take it for granted. I mean, and looking at it too when it comes to motivation, I feel like there's, the internal and external motivation. So a lot of the motivation has to come from within, being in tune with yourself so you're able to, continue to stay progressing. Because a lot of times when you have that external, motivation, when it's removed, then what are you motivated? How are you going to keep progressing?
I say motivation comes from, I had to go through my own period as like a young adult to go through my own stuff to be able to be a whole person, to walk alongside these kids. So, I had to address things about myself that were holding me back or keeping me personally in some areas where I just wasn't able to grow. And I think that that's something where I had to do that work to be able to feel confident in who I am showing up in these places because, I don't know necessarily how it is in other cultures, but like if you're going to show up and say, I'm a leader, you better be a leader 24/7. There's no there's nothing where you can make a slip up and that's necessarily, someone will say, hey, you see, acting up or they're lying or whatever. So it's something where I had to go through my own stuff and decide that this is my calling, this is what I want to do. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect, but it means that I have to be on a good road to have these kids look up to me because they, I feel like the biggest crime that they look for is a hypocrite. And if I'm trying to teach them something, that means that I shouldn't be doing these other things. So for me personally, the motivation had to come from, years of self-work and finding and healing to be able to say, I feel confident that I'm a whole person and you are safe around me.
There's a real practical side to what we all do as well. Mm-hmm. We have to recruit. We have to fundraise for our programs to keep them afloat. I'm hiring for staff turnover right now. So there's interviews. There's a real practical side to mentoring. And there's times when I know what I do. I spend as much time around a young person as I can because that's the motivation, right? I'll go out to the schools and I'll meet with some folks and be like, okay, this is what reminding myself why I do this. And so it's always, I think people in the community maybe maybe forget that there's just some real nuts and bolts that have to be dealt with to make these programs run. So,
Behind us.
yeah.
A lot of behind us.
Funding.
Yeah.
Funding.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's go to our second question. This is to Jakira and others that would like to answer it. What gave you the drive to stay on the right path and accomplish all you have, dealing with every challenge you have faced growing up?
I would say God. For me, kind of just going back with what I said, going through what I have faced in life, I had to learn to be in tune with myself, being whole. And when it comes, spiritually, mentally, physically, I have to take care of myself before I can pour it into others. And without God, I would say I wouldn't be able to have found that. And I always tell people, God is my solid foundation. When it comes to building anything, building yourself, anything from the ground, you have to have a solid foundation, because if you don't have that solid foundation, you can't stand. You're not gonna keep, as I would say, going back to progressing in life. You have to. So I figured out my solid foundation, and for me, that's God. So when it comes to that question, I would just say for others, just make sure you find that solid foundation for you to build off of, so you can continue to grow, continue to prosper, and then at the end of the day, take care of yourself.
God is. But I think what really hit was my kid. I mean, I got 7 kids, and let me tell you, I wanted them to see a male figure that was going to be out there in the community and just show them how it looks like, if there's someone that needs help. If you are in that place where you can help them out, you should do that. Give a lending hand and really motivate others to be better. So my thing was, it was just installed from me from day one for the kids. So looking at them and just wanting to make them proud and wanting to let them see, like, hey, this is what a man should look like when he take care of his family and take care of his community. So I would say that's my motive.
In cultural resiliency, I think that's a huge part, in my later teens and early adults, really recognize what it means to be umaha. And there's a lot of folks in our community here in Lincoln where there may be 2 or 1 generation from boarding school. And, those residential boarding schools, they were incredibly violent. There were lots and lots of kids that didn't come back to their families alive. They're still digging up bodies at Genoa, which is not that far away from here. And that's something where it was just the fact that I can be openly Indigenous and I can learn and be proud. That's something that generations before me, they had to hide that, or they had to, live in fear or toss that out the window, knowing that that's something that you could get killed for. And so I think that cultural resiliency, I feel very honored to be able to be in a position to say you should be proud to be me. So I think that that's something that it's very spiritual. It's very just having that own identity to be able to share with that. So cultural resiliency.
Jim, I'll have you start off with this question.
Okay.
The next one. How do you collaborate to find mentors for your respective organizations and meet the needs of youth served?
Boy, that's the hard stuff, right? One thing, you get out and you talk to folks, and so there's a couple things that are misleading around that. Is not only do we have to recruit mentors, but we have to retain the mentors we have.
Right.
And if you don't do that, you're walking on a treadmill, right? You're losing as fast as you're gaining. You're not serving more youth, right? And that's what we all want to do. We all want to be able to serve more youth and build this network of mentors. Here's something else. There's 2 ways that are the best ways to recruit mentors. The second best way is large events. Get out, have a presence, meet as many people as possible. We're between, I'm going to say between 10 and 15% of the people that say I'm interested actually become mentors. So we get a list of 40 people, you know, we're only going to get 5 or 6 mentors out of those 40 people. So but it's still the best way, second best way to do that. The single best way to recruit mentors is through word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
Is mentors recruiting mentors, or students recruiting mentors, or people in the organization recruiting mentors. Word of mouth is by far the best way, but it's a grind, and then you always have to have that retention piece on the back end.
It is very hard, you know, just from our experience with us finding mentors with El Centro it's been very, very hard. Just throw out numbers out there. I would say we have 400 plus students that, you know, wish they had a mentor, and this year alone we had less than 15 mentors, you know, that came, and like you said, to retain them, it's hard. Some of them want to come once or twice, and that's it. Being creative, we started kind of like a soccer thing after school at some of our schools, where we had actually like 40, 60 students come, and we also have college students that also like soccer, and they come and play with them, so we were able to get them together. Maybe not all the time, but they do come and they get to experience, you know, college students that come and talk to them, play with them. We have some small workshops. We break bread with them, and we just have to be creative, and retaining them, it's very, very hard. Yeah.
I think I've having the pleasure of just having just mentors in my shop, just seeing what I'm doing and want to be involved, and that's another way. Just you might meet them just because they see what you're doing and they're curious and they want to be involved. So I've been blessed like that. So that to really, like Jim said, it's a grind every day to be fortunate to try to get mentors in, and we're always looking for great mentors who want to be involved in the community. So that's a plug for us, Jim.
All right, good.
Awesome. So if you can tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Take a drink.
Right. I would, man, if I could tell my younger self, man, I would have just said, pay more attention in school. You know, if I would have known what I know now, I would have moved a lot faster, and I wouldn't have worked as hard. So I would tell myself, just pay more attention, be patient, watch it come to you, and just don't take time to smell the roses. Sometimes I don't take the time to smell the roses. I would have told myself, take time and smell the roses. It's okay. I would have told my younger self.
I want to hear from everybody on this.
I would say the most important thing that you can do is show up. I think I had to show up perfectly, or I had to show up with like the most to offer. But oftentimes, like if there is something to do and I'm on the outside looking in, like really the first step is just showing up. And from there, like you can work on it, but if you don't show up, you don't have that opportunity. You don't have, you know, you're always going to be on the outside looking in. And I think as a young person, I felt that way within my own community, and didn't have the courage to break that barrier. But I kind of wish that I could just tell myself of like, you just got to go there. You know, you just got to show up and see where it goes. Have the courage to take healthy risks.
I would say for me personally, just right off the top, I mean, the words that just keep coming to me is just let go. For me sooner, because for me personally, I've been through, you know, a lot of trauma in my life, and when you go through trauma, you know, you have to take that time to heal. And for me, I mean, healing, you're gonna heal on your own. You know, there's no time frame for it. You know, you're gonna go in different seasons, as I would call it, when it comes to, you know, healing. But I would say for me to let go sooner, because I would say it impacted my life a lot by holding on to, you know, all the trauma that I did for a long time. And I didn't take the time to heal myself. And I can only imagine if I would have let go sooner and to actually, you know, get the help I need, you know, go see a therapist or, you know, whatever the case may be, I could have, you know, been further, you know, progressed faster and further in life. And especially for me, knowing that, working with the youth I do, majority, or I should say most of all my kids that I work with are, you know, been through some type of trauma.
Right.
So just teaching them that process of, you know, letting go, accepting it, forgiving yourself or forgiving, you know, whatever the case may be, and moving on from it. It's a process for that, and it takes steps, and it's baby steps. And one day you may be on, you know, step 3, but then the next day you got to go back to step 1. So being able to be in tune with those emotions and going through the ride of that roller coaster, but also not letting those emotions overpower you.
Mine's around actually taking advantage of opportunities. I talk to young people all the time about, this is out there for you. Let's get it. Let's make it happen. And I think about all the things I passed on as a kid, all the things that I could have done, but just said, nah, it's not for me. And that opportunity is gone. And I think I think schools and for young people, there's lots of opportunity out there that I encourage. I have a 12-year-old at home, and I encourage her to take advantage of all these opportunities if she can. But I think about some opportunities missed. So if I could change one thing, I'd be that.
You stole mine, Joe. Mine's very similar. I think if I was to tell myself something when I was younger is, you know, take those opportunities, take those chances, get involved with those things that I was always too shy to be, or embarrassed because I thought my friends would tell me that was not cool. I wanted to be part of like band, and I didn't do it simply because I was thinking what others would think of me. So taking those opportunities, taking those chances, and one thing we do in our program is we allow that for the opportunities for our students. Last summer, we took a group of students that were heavily involved with gangs, and we took them kayaking. And they're like, why are we going kayaking? He's like, if people find out we're going kayaking, they're just going to make fun of us. They loved us so much, and they asked for it, and it changed them because they're like, one of them actually went and asked the parent if they could buy a kayak, and that was pretty cool because they were given the opportunity, and that, you know, that changed them. And they were able to take that chance, and now it changed them a little bit.
It was cool until the water started hitting me in this leg. I was like, man, why am I sitting down in this thing?
All right, so let's go ahead with our last question. We'll start off with Jim. So what's next, Jim? What do you need the community to do?
Right.
How can they get involved? What do they need to do?
Well, I mean, I think that mentorlnk.org is a great place to start if you're interested in getting involved in a mentoring program, if you're mentoring, or if you have a young person who could use a mentor. So there you can go and you can research mentoring programs. Also, you can see that full report there, the State of Mentoring report. It's a quick read. It gives you a good overview of what's going on in our community with mentoring. There's a list of organizations there. There's a list of organizations on that website. We're coming off of Give to Lincoln Day. Mentoring organizations need all kinds of support. They need support in people who are invested in being mentors. They need people who can be advocates for organizations, volunteers, but they also need funding. It's a real part of what we do. None of us could exist without the community supporting us in some way. So Give to Lincoln was a good way to do that, but every organization has a mechanism in place that you can support them financially as well. So we always ask for mentors. That's a very easy ask. It's not as easy to ask for financial support, but all those things are needed to help keep these organizations robust. And we do really want it through the coalition. We want to make Lincoln a community of mentoring, and the mayor is in support. He's a mayor for mentoring. The support we get from Community Health Endowment is they put mentoring forward as a priority. and we're a better community because of that support as well.
I will agree with Jim. And I would just say too, I mean, what I can just say is just show up for the community. I mean, for some people, you know, that may not look like, you know, researching and being a part of one of these mentoring programs. You don't have to be in a mentor role to be a mentor. I mean, you can be a mentor anywhere in the community. And so I just would say, just recognize what you want and where you are in life, and just continue to, you know, network and be there for the community. I mean, the only thing I can just say is, you know, lead by example, kind of what we talked about earlier. But I would just say, when it comes to mentoring, it may not feel like you're making a huge impact in that one person. But speaking from experience, my mentor decided to invest in me. And because of that, I have invested in, you know, in multiple people now, you know, and it just starts creating this ripple effect, because so you never know how much you may impact that one person, you know, in the future. And when we impact our youth, we're just going to make a better community in the future. So I would just say, just show up, just be there.
Yeah, I mean, man, they both said it best. Just show up and just be there. I mean, we always looking for great mentors, and like Jim said, you can get on the website, or I mean, you can get in contact with one of us. And I mean, man, you're never too old, you're never too young. So, I mean, just think about it.
I would say, what I mean by that is, I heard this at a conference at one point that I thought was really great. Like having a party, you're inviting a bunch of kids, you want it to be youth-led, so you pick out music you think they'll like, and then when they get there, you just play it for them. Or you can also just like make a playlist, ask them to co-sign it, of like, do you like this, and then play it. Well, really, youth-led is telling them that you need a playlist and letting them pick it out. And I think that that's something where investing in these kids, like showing them that there's choices, but letting them pick something, and then encouraging them by your own knowledge of like, this is how you do that. This is how you make it happen, and this is how, once you get it, you sustain it. Instead of trying to make programming for them that you think would be best for them. I think they have a lot of folks who are looking at what they think is best for them. When really, when I give the say to these kids, they have so many ideas, and they're so bright, and they have a better insight on what other kids need. And the best thing I can do is just like, you know, advocate for how to make it happen. So I think the next steps will always be try to make things always come back to being youth.
Awesome. I just want to thank the panel. We had an awesome hour and a half. I can talk about mentorship and youth and how helping our community and our youth all day, but there's an ending to it. So I'm gonna pass it on to Selena Martinez to do our closing remarks.
Thanks, Steve. My name is Selena Martinez. I'm the Equity and Diversity Officer here at Community Health Endowment. And I just want to start off by saying thank you to the panel. I think thank you for keeping it real. I really appreciated that. And I think members of the audience also appreciated it and noticed it. And I just want to read one of the comments from the Zoom that you all aren't getting to see. It says, all of the panelists are just so inspiring and have convinced me to visit the website to start the process.
Awesome.
I've been on the fence about it. This convinced me.
Awesome.
So I just want this is all thanks to all of you. One thing that I'm reminded of, I once heard that our behavior, it shows if our needs are met or not. And when I was hearing everyone speak, the need that I felt that everyone was meeting for our youth is not only their mental wellness, but also the human connection. So thank you. The recording of this webinar is going to be on our website a little bit later, and we didn't get to all the questions today, so we'll also include that on our website. I'd invite everyone to look up Community Health Endowment and like our Facebook page, as well as all the Facebook pages of the folks that we had here on the panel. And we've just appreciated your time today, and we'll see you next